Welcome back to Out of Touch, the podcast with some of your favorite people, hopefully. I'm John Alden. I don't really know where I would stack up on those listeners' lists of favorite people, but hey, if you're listening to me right now, I appreciate it. Mitchell Page with me as well. No Dustin Schutte tonight. I believe he's in the process of moving to St. Louis. So we'll check in with Dustin another time. Also, real quick while I'm thinking about it, we won't have a show next week. So a little week off for Out of Touch. Go ahead and get that out of the way. We haven't taken a week break yet, but I will be out of town. I'll be in Disney World. And, kind of a random trip. And we'll get into that here in a little bit later because we're also going to have our first ever guest on today here in about 5 or 10 minutes. My friend Elijah Butler, a self-proclaimed Disney adult, and he's going to teach me his ways. He's going to teach Mitchell his ways, and hopefully we'll have a good conversation. I'm excited to have my buddy Elijah on. He's also famous on TikTok. Some people probably think I'm ridiculous for mentioning that every time I say his name, but he does he has a profile called Data from Home, and I guess I'll let him speak on that a little bit later if he wishes. But Mitchell, how you doing on this fine March day?
I am doing well. I'm looking at my dog who has been a menace since I got home. I was in northern Indiana all day and just doing a bunch of stuff that's out of character. Did your dog ever do that?
Actually, my dog's name is Lily. She's actually very recently, she's normally a very good dog. She's almost 3 years old, but in the past few weeks, she's also been getting into some mischief, if you will. She's been going into our bathroom and digging out of our small little trash can in the bathroom, specifically that bathroom, the guest bathroom, I guess.
Yeah,
she's never done that before until the past couple of weeks, and it's kind of odd. But what's old Frank doing?
Yeah, similar stuff. Like he usually hangs out. I'm in my office right now, and usually he just kind of hangs out, lays on the carpet, doesn't really do much. Maybe chews on a bone or something. But just before we started recording, he dug into my suitcase that I typically have packed because you guys know I travel all over the place, and just took out a shoe and just started chewing on it. He hasn't done that since he was a 6-month-old puppy. He is now over 2 years old. He needs to just take a deep breath, just relax. So we just got back from a little walk. That's why my face is a little flushed. It's cold outside today. Very windy. Was it windy down there?
You're in Indianapolis, right?
Yeah. I was just in northern Indiana today. But spending the night at home, which is pretty nice.
I know. Anytime I see the wooden background, it means Mitchell's back at his home base. But
I need some ideas on what to hang up and how to hang it up. It's like wood paneling. I don't even know what this is called, but I need to do something. I need to hang something up.
One thing I want to get, because all I've got is the couple of Indiana photos in the back, and they're not even fully in view, which is kind of stupid on my part, but I want to get a framed like logo for Out of Touch to put on there somewhere. I need to get one for you and for Dustin. I also need to get you all the shirts that match the one that my sister-in-law got me for Christmas.
I would pay for it. Just send me the link. Absolutely.
I need to figure out how she, I guess, I don't know if she's on Etsy. Is Etsy the thing people use for those kinds of things, or what is it? Redbubble? I think that might be one of the sites people use for that kind of stuff.
You're going to lose me quick. I have no clue. People come up with amazing things, and I typically just accept that they are smarter than me and buy whatever they make. So
there you go. Damn it. 4 minutes in, and I sat there, and I wasn't actually thinking. I was mainly waiting because I wasn't sure if you were done speaking.
Yeah.
But I got scared of the awkward silence, and I just went to the well, there you go.
I like the awkward silence, especially if somebody's listening in the car or they're like on the treadmill or something. They're going to think their phone stopped working, and they're going to have that 1 second of panic. There's someone right now listening to this that just experienced that. Like, oh no, my phone broke, and nope. Just us not having anything to say.
I do that often when I'm listening to certain podcasts. But
100%. I do the same thing.
Did you enjoy March Madness over the weekend? Obviously, I feel like overall it was very fun as always. Very happy to see Kentucky lose. Sorry to all the Kentucky fans who may listen. I know I live in Kentucky, but I'm far from a Kentucky Wildcats fan. I am a Indiana Hoosier, for those who don't know. If you don't know that by now, especially if you're a listener of the previous podcast that we did, then you probably just didn't pay attention to a word I said. So,
Yeah.
Which I wouldn't blame you for, to be quite honest. But Kentucky lost to Oakland. I feel like that was one of the biggest stories from that. But overall, did you enjoy your March Madness viewing experience, Mitchell?
Yeah, I have a couple thoughts on March Madness in general and then the Kentucky game specifically.
Okay.
March Madness is nowhere near as fun when the Hoosiers are not playing.
True.
Especially when you watch teams that on paper should be way less talented than we are, and they score at will and play a really fun brand of basketball, up and down, shooting threes, basically is what I want. And Indiana is not even close to doing that. But it is still fun. Those two best days of the year, Thursday and Friday, it's electric. Even my wife was getting into it. Laura was fired up. She's got her bracket with her work, and she was checking them off, cheering for her teams. It's just a lot of fun. But the Kentucky, I had never really watched a Kentucky game, and I cheer against them 100%. I think I cheer against them more than I cheer against Purdue for whatever reason.
I'm the same way. I'm the same. Maybe
why.
I think for me, it's where I live. I've been around Kentucky fans pretty much my whole life, and there's a lot of them, and some of them are ruthless, rightfully so. So I mean, there's reason to hate Kentucky if you're an Indiana fan.
And I think that plays perfectly into what I'm about to say. Purdue fans, they're kind of like they don't really have a place, if that makes sense. They're not a.
Dustin's going to hate that he's not here to.
Yeah,
to
they're not
help.
a powerhouse, and I'll tell this: they've never been like a dominant kind of blue blood team that like has all this tradition to live on. They don't really know. They have a great arena. Mackey is awesome. It's loud, but it never feels like they have a true identity. It feels like a bunch of nerds that aren't really that smart cheering for a team. Like they're not Harvard, but they're also not Indiana. And I say that with all the love in my heart. Like Indiana is a party school. Harvard is an intelligence school. Purdue kind of lives in the middle, but they don't really have either. Like West Lafayette isn't a very fun city. I love
West Lafayette is one of, and I can't say this from experience because I've never seen it. And actually, we already talked about this a few weeks ago, but has to be one of the ugliest towns in the state of Indiana.
It really isn't that bad. I was just there today. It is not that bad. It smells sometimes just because there's some like agriculture going on, but it's not that bad. But the perception is that it's ugly and whatever. That's the perception of Purdue. But for whatever reason, I don't feel in football, I do a little more. And that's probably because I played them and beat them 5 times. So
there you go.
I have to throw that in. But I was very lucky. I was there for the Darrell Hazel years. That helped us a bunch.
You know, one thing I've always wanted, and I don't own one, I want a replica Old Oaken bucket just to have to sit out.
Oh, yeah.
After years where Indiana has won against Purdue and then lock it away in years where they haven't won, which I guess right now, if I owned one, it would be collecting dust because it's been a while since
I'll tell you that old bucket is one of the coolest things in the world. Getting to hold that thing, the best. But I'll wrap this up. So that felt like a lot of bashing of Purdue, but it isn't. I mean that like for whatever reason, I kind of respect where they come from. And it's a respectful rivalry. Like they beat us sometimes, we beat them sometimes. They've been traditionally better in football. We've been maybe a little more successful nationally in basketball. But with Kentucky, I feel like they're a blue blood that kind of is unrealistic with their expectations, which is exactly why I don't like them. Because when I watch Kentucky play Oakland and they show Kentucky fans, if you were to make it on grayscale, take out the logos and show an Indiana game and a Kentucky game, those people are identical. They're both hyper unrealistic. And it's like looking at yourself in the mirror. That's, I think, why I hate them so much, because they've actually tasted a little bit of success. They're the same person as me, but I haven't gotten, and even though it was like one and done and they're all mad at Calipari, whatever, like I haven't been to a national championship since 2001. And they're all mad because they haven't been to the Sweet 16 in like 3 years, and that's the worst thing they can possibly
So
imagine.
when you say you, like, did you attend the Final Four? Or I guess it was 2002, wasn't it?
No,
Not 2001.
I felt like I was really a part of it as a 9-year-old. I
That's
felt like
crazy because I'm young enough to where I have no recollection of Indiana's
really?
Final Four.
That
No,
was
zero.
That was like my first. It's kind of a rocky start in fanhood. For some reason, I cheered for Duke. I think it was JJ
Oh,
Redick.
man.
I know, it was just a tragedy. Just what was I
And
thinking?
back then, though, there was a lot less games to watch. You had to watch who was on TV, and you might have just been watching Duke a bunch.
I love Jason Williams and JJ Redick. Those are my guys. The game that actually flipped for me, I went to, and if you're around my age or older, you'll remember this game. You may not. But Duke came to play Indiana in the ACC Challenge with JJ Redick and Sheldon Williams. They were like number one in the country. And Indiana had Marco Killingsworth. I don't even remember who was on Indiana's team besides him. Marco Killingsworth was a transfer from Auburn, and he had like 40 points. And they beat Duke in Assembly Hall. I was at the game sitting in like the 10th row. I said, okay, this is pretty cool. This is the team I want to cheer for. So that was like my final switch to being a true Indiana fan. But that was a long way to say. I think I don't like Kentucky more because it's like the bad side of yourself when you look in the mirror. Like it's you. If they would have just been born north of the border, they'd be the same way, just cheering for Indiana. Unrealistic. And that's where I'm at. And I think that's why I can't watch them, because I've become unrealistic in my expectations, and that's just a sad reality. So yeah, I would say that I was cheering for them to lose because I didn't want to have to watch them anymore and look at myself in the mirror.
Well, I hate to bring this guy in right as we're talking about Kentucky losing in the NCAA tournament because he is also a Kentucky fan, but my buddy Elijah Butler, excuse me, maybe he'll let me call him Butler. Elijah Butler, data from home on TikTok and everywhere else you can think of. He's now with us, my friend, and I'm glad to have you. But yeah, we were just talking before we get into the Disney stuff. We were talking March Madness, and Mitchell and I were discussing our I hate to call it hatred, especially in front of a Kentucky fan now, but we have an unreasonable disdain for Kentucky Wildcats basketball specifically. More so than we hate Purdue, which is Indiana's main rival. And I don't know what it is, but I wanted to apologize for bringing you in on that, Elijah.
You know what a Kentucky fan's worst fear is?
What is that?
Becoming Indiana. Whenever you hear Kentucky or Louisville talk about their coaching searches, everything is like, we better get someone good because our worst fear is becoming Indiana.
100%. I heard that over the weekend from Matt Jones. And I had to text John about it. It was unreasonable, mean, kicking us while we're down, and I just didn't need to hear it. So great first impression. Great to meet you, Elijah. Pretty much the meanest thing that I'll hear all week. And with that, we're excited to have you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. In all seriousness, I'm excited to be here and see what I can add to this beautiful podcast.
And so, obviously, I've teased that you do data analytics. We're not here to talk about that, obviously. I'm bringing you on because next week I will be out of town going to Disney World with my wife and some friends of ours and their daughter. And it's kind of a trip that we weren't really expecting to take until just a couple of months ago. And knowing you for as long as I have, and knowing your, I don't want to call it obsession. That feels a little disrespectful, but your love and your wife's love for Disney, you even went as far as you spent an extended amount of time down there a few years ago. What is it that you enjoy so much about Disney World or just Disney in general?
Yeah, so I would say on the Disney adult meter, I'm probably like a 6 out of 10 or something. So I really enjoy going to the parks. I love basically like all the Disney movies and Pixar stuff. And What I like about the parks, I don't know. There's just good vibes. I really like. I enjoy Disney a lot more than other theme parks. Like other theme parks is just like how fast can we drop you? How fast can we start you off? Whereas Disney, their whole thing is kind of immersing you in the experience. Like we can get into what parks you're going to because like it's just completely different going to Disney than it is going to like Kings Island or Holiday World or Six Flags.
What is the deal with Disney adults in general? Like, where did that term come from?
I mean, I think it's used kind of both that like meanly, and then I think it's also championed by Disney adults. So it's just an adult that I guess enjoys Disney specifically. I think it's usually referring to people who don't go with kids, which would be the bucket that I fall into. And some people use it for themselves, just saying that they like to go to Disney and it's a big part of their life. And then some people are like, look at these freaks who love to go to Disney without children. That's really weird. Where they come from, I just kind of think like different people have different pasts. And I think like a lot of people, like, I don't know, they have like different traumas and stuff from their childhood or something. And I feel like sometimes like getting back into that childhood thing just like feels happy and feels healing to some people. But again, for me, I just kind of like the vibes.
I do have a question. Have you always been somebody that goes to the parks? Because I wouldn't say I'm a Disney adult, but when a new Disney movie comes out, I'm seeing that thing. And I don't have any kids yet, but a lot of the songs from the movies, if it plays, I probably know 80% of the words. But I've been to Disney World one time. Were you somebody that always went, or were you a moviegoer that saw Harry Potter World one day and said, I want to go see it, and then became a lover of the parks?
Yeah, so I have been blessed to have gotten to go on many a Disney vacation growing up. Like we probably growing up went every 2 or 3 years on average or something. So yeah, a pretty good amount. And yeah.
What I have follow up. I only went once, and that was because it was maybe the worst vacation we ever went on. My sister was a little too young, and it just spiraled. One bad thing happens, and then every bad thing happens. Do you have any funny, traumatizing, terrible moments? Because I think that those moments are the funniest stories now, but in the moment had to be so bad.
Yeah, so first of all, yeah, I think that definitely your Disney experience is really defined by who you go with. Like, you'll go with some people and they want to do what's called rope dropping, which means getting to the park before it opens so you can like sprint to the attractions that get busier later in the day. And they'll plan out every single minute of the day until closing. And my poor little feet can't handle it. I have the weakest feet there ever were. I just can't take that. So going with my wife, we're both chill. Like if we were out late one night, we'll just not go into the park until like later the next night. But on our last trip, we actually had a great trip. And then the last day, everything kind of fell apart. We booked our trip when we did. We went in December because they had a new Christmas party called the Jollywood Nights Party in Hollywood Studios. And it was our last night there, and they ended up canceling it like that morning when we were planning to go that night. And so it was like our big thing. We were looking forward to it. It was our last day. We went to guest services, and luckily they let us buy 50% off of a day pass for Hollywood Studios. So we were like, we don't just want to sit around our room. We have one last day at Disney. So we did that, and they had canceled the party because it was like storming. So we were like all up in the rain at Hollywood Studios. We got to the front of Tower of Terror, and right as we were about to board the elevator you ride in, they shut it down and kicked everybody out of it. We went and watched a show and then went and got in line for a ride called Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. Same thing happened. We were right about to board it, and they closed it down, kicked everybody out of it. So after that, we just decided to leave. It was actually the night of the UK North Carolina game. So I was like, at least I can go watch that in the room. And then to top it all off, the next morning when we woke up to start leaving for the airport, there was some kind of leak in our wall from the rain, and a lot of our clothes that were like kind of on the floor and around got wet. And
Perfect.
It was a perfect trip, and then the last day, everything fell apart.
What was supposed to
speaking
happen at the event? I'm curious. Was it just like a dinner and a show, or what was it?
So it's like only ticketed members. So like I think towards the end, okay, let me stumble over my words a few more times. So they were going to have different things. So they were going to have most of the park open, so you could go ride rides, go to the normal restaurants. They had like some special food, but then they had like some shows that were only available for this. Like they were going to have a Muppets show that they don't normally have. I think they may have had some kind of Nightmare Before Christmas sing along. There's all of this stuff, and we're just kind of going to check it out. At Magic Kingdom, they've always had like a Mickey's Merry Christmas party or something that we went to the first day we were there this time, but they'd have like different character meet and greets, which I'm not the biggest on the character meet and greets, but just a lot of stuff. And I also figured everybody in the park would be so busy with all like the extra stuff that like the rides, which is what I really care about, would be less busy.
One of the rides, I don't even know if you'd call it a ride. It's kind of a show, but it's also kind of not, that I absolutely hate and am going to do everything in my power to convince my wife and those with us that we don't have to do it. And that's the Bugs Life show. I can't think of what it's called. I think it's called It's Tough to Be a Bug. So let me preface this. I like the movie A Bug's Life. It is kind of a little, as a kid, it is a little creepy and scary, but it doesn't mean it's a bad movie. But the show itself is so kind of in your face, where you have like little things that come out of the seats that are supposed to sting you. You have the spiders that come from the ceiling. I think there's one point in the show where they blow a bunch of smoke into the theater and turn the lights off. They're literally trying to scare the hell out of you. It doesn't matter if you're an adult or a child. It is not a fun experience, and I don't plan on doing that when we go next week.
That's actually really funny you mention it. Me and Hannah both really hate that too. We didn't even think about doing it our last trip. We had done it when we lived down there. But good news, I actually think they may be getting rid of it. Like I may be making stuff up, but I feel like they're getting rid of it to put something like Zootopia in there.
Hopefully that'd be a little more I don't want to say family friendly, because I guess the one that they have is supposed to be. Honestly, I think human beings, and this includes myself, we're just wussies. We're just not built the way that we used to be. We're not built to be scared by animatronic spiders or grasshoppers or whatever it may be, the way that they thought we would be.
I don't know anything about this one. I don't want to be anywhere near this, within 100 miles of that.
And there in Mitchell, there used to be, Elijah, you might be familiar with this too. There used to be a ride or another show type ride in Magic Kingdom that was Lilo and Stitch themed, where they would lock you in these seats and literally like your hands are handcuffed to the seats, and they shut all the lights off, and Stitch escapes from this little portal or something, and he's supposed to be crawling around on you and, doing things to you, and you're supposed to be able to feel all of that. I've never experienced that one. I'm pretty sure that one's gone, but another thing, would never ride in a million years.
That one is also gone. I don't remember them handcuffing you to the seat. That may have been something you did in your personal life or something. But they did spray like chili dog smelling stuff into the theater that I remember just stayed in my nose for like the entire week.
That's gross. I know it's part of the immersion, but that's just gross.
Locking yourself or getting locked to the seat, I feel like they'd go straight to jail for that. There's no way that was
so I believe thing. I could be wrong about this. I think so it was a Stitch ride, but before that, I think it was like an alien, like Predator type, like an adult themed ride. And maybe they locked you in that one or something like that. But I haven't been in about 10 years, Elijah. That's the only time I went so I've been twice. Once when I was younger, really young, and don't remember hardly any of it. And once where I could remember it. Are there any other rides that I need to know about that fit that same vein as the Bugs Life show and the Stitch ride?
Okay, so annoying rides. Do you know what parks you're going to while you're there, John?
I know we're doing Magic Kingdom and Animal Kingdom, and I think we might do a split day with the other two, Epcot and Hollywood Studios. I could be wrong, but I think that's what we're doing.
Hollywood's my favorite for what it's worth. So you're obviously not going to do It's a Bug's Life, which is in Animal Kingdom. I think that's the only one that's like really annoying. Some people like don't really enjoy It's a Small World just because they get tired of the song by the end of it. Like, it's a small world after all. And it's just, and then they'll like have that in every language and stuff. I think you're good though. Other than that, the Tomorrowland Speedway in Magic Kingdom, that is one ride I can't believe they haven't replaced because like they just put in a new Tron ride in Magic Kingdom, and I'm surprised they don't put something else cool because I've never met anybody who didn't actively dislike the Mickey's Tomorrowland Speedway.
I've heard of people drink the water out of It's a Small World that bad things might happen to you. Have you ever seen anybody drink the water out of that ride?
No,
Not
but
that anyone would want to, but you know what I mean.
I've never seen anybody do it, but you know, $5 is $5.
Oh man. So I'm gonna take a guess, Elijah. I bet you may have actually just said it. You say Hollywood Studios is your favorite park?
Yeah, that's the one that I used to call you from whenever I was depressed in Florida.
So I guess I'll share that story real quick. So a couple of years ago, whenever he was staying down, I guess you and your wife, were you married at the time or were you all both just down there?
We were both down there. She worked like night shifts. We lived like 20, 30 minutes apart, and I had a bad roommate situation, and then you can kind of take it.
Yeah, so they lived down there for an extended period of time doing the Disney program. I don't know the name of it, but who cares? And I was only working part-time. I was working a Louisville Bats baseball game, or maybe it was a Louisville men's basketball game, something like that. And sometimes Elijah would call me from Hollywood Studios and just let me know what's going on because for Disney adults like you, that is your happy place, one of those parks in Disney World. And it's just one of those things that we were both in a transitional period in our lives, leaving college and starting jobs and stuff like that. And this was before you were even doing the TikTok stuff. Am I right?
Oh yeah, it was way before I was doing that. So like I had this rough roommate situation. My apartment, again, I'm a big vibes person. It was big negative vibes there. I had bad relationships with my roommates. And so I would just like, I had that Disney annual pass while I was living down there. So I'd clock out of work at like 4 or 5, whatever time. And then I just go to the park. And the good thing when you're an annual pass holder is you don't have to go do everything. Like I could go just do a ride, do a show, get a snack. It's actually chill. And again, it's just like something happy to do. And then sometimes I guess I'd get bored. And so I just called John and we would talk about politics. John, for his main gig, produces some shows that I listen to. So I'd kind of fan out about that, I guess. But we had some good chats of me just sitting behind a coffee truck in Hollywood Studios.
That's awesome.
Mitchell, you look like you have some thoughts.
No, not really. I just like listening to you guys. I enjoy just old friends chatting it up.
We'll have to do this with Mitchell, one of your friends, and maybe Dustin. And Dustin's mentioned bringing on Indie Hater 1, who is a frequent caller of the show. And maybe we'll have to do that some other time as well. But I'm super excited about it, about just kind of seeing new stuff, because I guess there's 3 different eras, if you will, that I went to Disney. 1, being a child, as I mentioned earlier, you barely remember anything. 2, with my family when I was in high school, or I guess going into high school. You can't really do what you want because, you know, you're with your family and that kind of thing. This will be the first time going where, you know, I'm making all the decisions, you know, along with the people that are going with us. But what's the one thing I've got to do, Elijah? Whether it's something I've done already before, I don't know what you're going to say, but if there's one thing I've got to do, what is it?
Can I give you 1 to 2 things per park, and then you can take from that?
That's actually, yeah, I was going to suggest that anyway after I said my piece. But yeah, tell me 1 for each park.
Are you all planning to drink while you're there?
You're talking alcohol, so I'm not a big. I mean, I'll probably drink a little bit just to taste some of the unique stuff they have, but I won't drink a bunch, honestly.
I definitely don't either, but I was going to say, if you can get a reservation or get into the lounge, the drinks everywhere are going to be like $16-18 for like a mixed drink or something, but they have this place called Space 220. It's also a restaurant. You can go to just the bar, and like everything is like weird space themed, and they have one that I think is called the Shuttle Crew, and it's got like Red Bull and other stuff and like pop rocks on top. And it probably sounds nasty how I'm describing it, but it's the best. It's the best mixed drink I've ever had. And then
where's that at, by the way? Did you say where that was?
That's at Epcot.
Epcot. Okay.
And then also at Epcot is now my favorite ride, which is the Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind. You have to like, if you're going there that day, you have to like sign up to get in the queue at like 7 a.m. The day that you're going into it. You'll have to research that and figure out, or I could just like go into it deeper offline. But if you can't get into it, you can pay to like do a fast pass for it, and it may be like 10 or 15 bucks each. But if you go there, I think it's so cool and worth it for the first time. So that's Epcot. Magic Kingdom, I mean, the Tron ride's new, which is very cool. So you can definitely try to get on the Tron ride. I always really like the Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor. Like, it's this interactive comedy show, and it never disappoints. I always really like the Carousel of Progress. It's kind of cheesy. It's this animatronics show that's like pretty old, but it's really good. But that's always a must do for Magic Kingdom. I'm not a big foodie, so somebody else can tell you like the best places to get food at these places.
That's actually one thing I'm not looking forward to, because I feel like a lot of the food things, at least from what I just see, I guess online, is it's so touristy and overpriced is what would be my guess.
You can, yeah, that's definitely true. You can get some more basic stuff, but there definitely is some of that it's like just to take an Instagram picture of.
So what else? You got Magic Kingdom and Epcot. What about Hollywood Studios and Animal Kingdom?
So Hollywood Studios, are you a big Star Wars fan?
I'm not, but the last time I went, and I guess in high school, they didn't have any of the Star Wars stuff. They had one of the rides. I don't even remember what it was called, but all of the new stuff that they've added since I've never been on before.
That stuff's all super cool. I always like they have like these spherical Coke bottles there that have like the Star Wars alien writing. But people who love Star Wars, and it is a cool ride, I'm just not a big Star Wars fan, love the Rise of Resistance ride. That's their big thing. It's super cool. Rock and Roller Coaster and Tower of Terror are both very fun there. They've been there a while. Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. It sounds super cheesy. You may find it super cheesy, but like go on it. It's just like a pretty ride. And if you get the chance to do it, you'll understand what I'm talking about there. Is there anything else from Hollywood Studios? Then yeah, that's probably my recommendations for there. And then
what about the I've got a question, because there's one thing I remember being at Hollywood Studios that we didn't see before, and I don't know if it's worth it, but I think it's still there. It's the show with the dragon or whatever it is. I don't know what it's called. It's an outdoor show, and I think it's at nighttime.
Oh, that's right. Some people really like it. Like, I mean, it's pretty cool. Why am I blanking on this? Yeah, it's like their big show at Hollywood Studios. We went and watched it our last time. It's probably worth going to since you all don't go there that often. Like if you end up there, it happens like at park closing. So like the other thing you could do is go get on a couple of rides while everybody else is over at that. But it is a pretty cool show.
Okay. So give me the Animal Kingdom take.
Animal Kingdom, Avatar World. I don't know if that was there the last time you did it.
It was not.
If you can do a fast pass, great. If not, if you can try to play the line, because it's always really long. But Flight of Passage, the Avatar ride, like it's insane. When I say like rides immerse you and stuff, like this one, it just feels like you're flying through like Pandora, the Avatar land, and it's just dope. Like it was my favorite ride before the Guardians of the Galaxy one. So if you end up in Animal Kingdom, like you've got to make Flight of Passage work. Like I think that's one of the coolest things I think you can do at Disney World.
Mitchell, I hate to disclude you. I know you're, but sometimes I'm trying to balance between letting you say something and not make you feel like you're wasting your time.
No,
okay.
No, this is I've never been there besides the one time I mentioned, and I was probably 5. So all of this is brand new to me. Like, I don't remember anything from that trip, and we're having a baby in June. So this place is coming for me whether I want it or not. My dollars will be deposited in the Disney fund sooner rather than later. So this is really good for me to know. Especially, I guess the the question I have on your recommendations: most family friendly, children under the age of 5, because this will probably be 2 or 3 years down the line. One place, best park and best attraction in that park.
I mean, if you're going it depends, because I feel like kids aren't going to remember it till a little bit longer. Magic Kingdom is like the central park. It has like a lot of your classic rides. It's also the busiest and stuff, but for a little kid, it's probably Magic Kingdom, because almost all of the rides, except for like Space Mountain and Tron, like they're just like riding and then like looking at stuff where they've designed. So probably Magic Kingdom.
Okay, I like it.
I've got one more set of Disney questions. I guess it's just one question, and then I want to transition to one other thing, and then we'll wrap this thing up. But what is the most overrated attraction? It can be the entire thing of Disney, or I guess really for each park again. I'll share one thing that I feel like a lot of people will say is overrated, but I love it, and that's the Haunted Mansion.
That isn't what I'd say. And also, like, I feel like I'm just answering questions. So eventually, like, if I'm ever on here and we're not just talking about something I'm the only one that knows a lot about, like, I won't just be taking the stage the whole time.
No. You don't feel like, I mean, I'm the one tossing things at you. You're not stealing anybody's time.
My most overrated for all of Disney World is actually the Peter Pan ride. And I say that
That's a good answer. That's a good answer, by the way.
Not because it sucks. Like, it's kind of cool. It's a chill ride. It's a good way to get out of the heat. But like, it always has like probably one of the top 5 longest lines. And literally all you do is you sit on a boat and then go over models of like things that are recreations from the movies. And it always has like an hour wait, or on a busy day, like a 2-hour wait or something. I'm like, I would rather sit on the sidewalk and lick the sidewalk than ride.
Or drink the water out of It's a Small World.
Yeah, I would much rather. And the Small World usually doesn't have that long of a line just because they get so many people on it.
What about the water in Pirates of the Caribbean? You ever drink that water?
No, but
why are you so obsessed with drinking the water?
John,
I'm just throwing random things out there. See where he takes it.
Alicia was like, "Do you want to go to Disney World?" And John was like, "Well, I am thirsty."
Yeah, right. Every ride, if there's water, he's like, "Well, do you drink it?"
The Jungle
That is
Cruise.
such a crazy
Jungle
question.
Cruise. I've heard the waterfall water is pretty nice.
Who'd you hear that from? Because that person
I don't know.
belongs in jail. Yeah, put him in jail.
That person
Anyway,
needs to be in like a cushioned room or something. I imagine John's going to come there with like one of those little pouches that you pour in a bottle of water and just scoop it out of there.
Crystal Light packs.
Yeah. He's like, don't worry, guys. It only has 5 calories.
Yeah, I got it. That's nasty.
Minus whatever pennies or stuff is just stuck in the water. Like, I don't know. And Dookie probably.
Ooh, you know, a ride I'm also glad doesn't exist anymore. And again, I never rode it, but I've seen a video of it. And I'll let you finish on the overrated rides. But it's the I think it's 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. And the only reason is because why would anybody want to be inside a fake submarine underwater, pressurized? And not only that, you're seeing animatronics underwater. I don't know. It's just, I think it's just a weird uncomfortability of being submerged and wondering, like, none of this is real. This is artificial. It might break down on you. You don't want to die on a Disney ride. Anyway.
I think the obvious answer, the only person that would want to be on that is you, in hopes that the submarine opens up and all the water rushes in. That's the obvious answer. You can't wait to drink out of that. So, they made that ride just for you. You have to go on it.
It doesn't exist anymore, though.
Oh, it doesn't? Okay.
I think
because you went there and drank all the water.
We didn't go on it, but I think they had something like that in Disneyland. We didn't go on it, but we could have went on it if we wanted to like cosplay as a billionaire or something, but it probably wouldn't have crashed.
I had one more comment. and I don't remember what it was, but I'll let you. If I think of it, I'll say something. But continue on with overrated rides for each park.
Okay, so if I had to pick for each park, I mean, can I just say the It's a Bug's Life show for Animal Kingdom?
Is it like I guess overrated? I guess do a lot of people like it? I guess.
I mean, I think it stayed populated enough. I mean, other than that, like the other Avatar ride, I forget what it's called, but like it's pretty and stuff. And at the end, you see like this really expensive animatronic, but like you're just riding down a river. And usually, like it's fun if you only had to wait 20 minutes for it. But if like I'm not waiting 2 hours to like do a 2 minute ride around the river, and then see this Avatar singing a song on the way out.
While we're on Animal Kingdom, did you, when you were most recently in Disney, did you get stuck on Expedition Everest? Do I remember you telling me that, or did I make that up?
I think you're making that up. I don't remember getting.
Or maybe it broke down while you were there, but you weren't on it. Maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
I know the Hollywood Studios, there were 2 rides that broke down that last day, but I don't remember getting stuck on another ride. I may just be the one blanking.
It would be real spooky though to get stuck on Expedition Everest, like in front of the Yeti or something. They still had the Yeti, right? I know it doesn't move or anything, but isn't it? Does it still exist?
Yeah, it's still there. And Everest is another great ride when you're going to Animal Kingdom, but I don't remember getting stuck on one.
No.
Yeah.
Well, give me is there only one left? Did you do Epcot? I can't remember what you've done.
Epcot, okay. Last overrated ride.
Epcot. I mean, their new ride, Ratatouille, I don't think is that crazy. Like, it's really cool effects, but for whatever they spent to put it in, I didn't think it was that great of a ride.
Fun fact, I used to fall asleep watching Ratatouille when I was a kid. That was like my go-to fall asleep.
That movie rocks. What a crazy story. How high must have that guy been that wrote that movie? What a crazy movie that is. So good, though.
I saw this TikTok, I think it was yesterday, and it was like this guy and this girl making out, and she's like, wow, you're a great kisser. And he's like, thank you. And she's like, can you take off your hat? And it like zooms out, and he's wearing a big chef's hat.
Oh, man.
What a crazy story. First time I watched that, I had to watch it again because it was so preposterous, but I love that movie.
They have some really cool Ratatouille merch at Disney. Like you can get a big chef's hat, and then it has like you can turn it on and it'll illuminate, make it look like there's a rat running around inside of your chef's hat.
That's weird. That's just,
I kind of like it.
I expect you to get some kind of headgear out of this trip, John.
If I don't get a picture of John in Mickey Mouse ears, I'm quitting this podcast. You'll never
see that's what I don't want this to be. I don't want to be a typical Disney tourist. I think that's one of the most aggravating things about Disney World is the people who really like just make it the stereotypical Disney World experience. You know what I mean?
I just don't think you like seeing people happy.
That's probably true. And
that's why I wanted Oakland. That's why I was super happy that Oakland won. I got to see all the UK fans sad and upset.
You should have been here. Our friend Alan was here, and he's a huge Louisville fan. And before coming, he was like, I'm going to be rooting for Oakland. And I was like, yeah, they're probably going to win.
God, could you imagine if all of us were there as you had to suffer through that loss?
Are you a Calipari fan or no?
I would say I've always defended him until like the past couple of years. Now, I was pretty much on the bandwagon. If it wasn't for his buyout, I'd probably be down to try something new just because I don't have faith that he's going to make the necessary changes. But also, like, unless we could get Jay Wright, which is unlikely, I don't think there's any great names out there. So, I don't know. I think his ego gets in the way of his coaching. Like, there's a lot of things like what lineup you should play, and I genuinely think he won't play the best lineup just because he knows that's what the fans want. He doesn't want to prove them right.
That is weird. I've noticed it about Calipari.
I'm telling you, John, Kentucky fans, Indiana fans, equal.
They are.
I have said exactly what he just said out loud about Mike.
The biggest difference is that I think the expectation level, maybe expectations are the same. I think they're typically more unrealistic for Indiana.
Yes. much more.
And I guess you are proven that doesn't make a lot of sense because, especially, I would say the old guard of Indiana fans, the people who grew up watching Bob Knight, that kind of stuff, they're the ones who think that Indiana needs to be competing for a Final Four every single year when we're not at that point yet. Maybe we can get back to there someday.
Yeah. I believe they should be. That is the standard. Every year. And that's why
we realize only 4 teams get there, though, right?
Yes. Well, I am saying Indiana fans are idiots.
Okay.
That was the whole point.
I thought you were saying they should be.
Indiana fans are both idiots. Calipari has done more for Kentucky basketball than anyone. They've been to Final Fours. They have $400 million contracts for like 40 of their players. They're phenomenal. And I agree. They should fire him. Like, that's what's so stupid and so hilarious about watching Kentucky is it's just Indiana fans that were born south of the Indiana-Kentucky border. We're just
north of the border.
South.
Border, Mr.
Kentucky fans
challenged. Oh, Kentucky fans. Okay.
Yes. Kentucky fans are just Indiana fans that were born south of the Kentucky Indiana.
And here's the thing. It's great that we've got a Kentucky fan on here to discuss this, and then we'll wrap up this week's show. What is it about Kentucky fans that they don't like to acknowledge Indiana as a rival? Is it because they think they're too good for Indiana?
Yes.
So I personally think it's more of an age thing. Like, just genuinely, I've been a big Kentucky fan since right when Calipari started and right when Joker started with football. That's just when I happened to get into
Phillips,
it.
What a miserable experience that must have been.
It was. What was the question again? Yeah, you got me.
Sorry, I get us off topic sometimes with my ad libs. I was asking, what is it about Kentucky fans that they don't like to acknowledge Indiana as any sort of rival?
I don't know. It's just not something I naturally view. I think some people may kind of say it just to like as a jab or something. But I mean, for me, it was like the only memory I really think about with Indiana is the regular season shot that got put on popcorn buckets for a decade.
I'm glad you mentioned that because you know what's funny? Kentucky fans remember that game more so than they remember losing to Indiana in the round of 32 back in 2016. That happened after the Watford shot, 4 years later.
Well, I mean, the Watford shot, we were afraid Darius Miller was trampled during that. I don't know if you remember that. People had to like pull him up.
It was the Kyle Filipowski before Kyle Filipowski is what it was.
Yeah, that in the year Indiana beat us, obviously it sucked because of years we made the tournament. We missed the tournament in 2013. That was our first like early exit, but that also was a team that wasn't like we're going to go win the championship. If Indiana had beat us when we were like, if it was like the Fox Monk Bam year, I think that would have been more memorable. I think it's wild that the Indiana fans think of the Watford shot game more than whenever we beat Indiana in the tournament the same year.
Well, it's because that's the game we won. We're not going to talk about the game we lost.
I think it was because Kentucky was so much better than Indiana. That's why we talk. It was if I was a Kentucky fan, that's like Indiana fans seeing. I guess I can't even think of anybody right now because we lose to everyone in our entire conference. But looking at someone like a Ball State or something as a rival, like that's somebody that we are supposed to beat. That's not our rival. They don't beat us. And Indiana has no business claiming Kentucky right now as a rival. That's just the reality of the situation. We don't ever play each other. And honestly, thank goodness. We've shown that we're going to lose by 40 to teams like Kentucky. So as an Indiana fan, I don't want to play them at a home and home. I know that'd be great for the rivalry. But
it is coming back in a couple of years, right? I don't know if
Yes.
Calipari will be around for it, but it is coming back.
And we better hurry up and find some players because they did. They have players. And we're in trouble, John.
But they're all going to be gone. It's going to be different players next year.
They reload every year, dude. That's why it's so funny.
But they reload, but when they haven't made the second weekend since Elijah, you know better, but what, 2017?
2016 was when they beat us.
No.
The last time Kentucky made the second weekend.
I thought it was like 2020, dude.
2017, we made the Elite Eight.
Okay, yeah, that was it. Because right after that was Cal's lifetime contract, and he's been garbage since in the postseason.
Absolutely. The last 4 years, missed the tournament. First round St. Peter's, second round Kansas State, first round Oakland. And that's where we're at. And I don't know. And it was a hard situation because the word was out that UCLA was going to come hire him for even more. So like after his run from 2010 to 2017, if our athletic director had let UCLA come and get him, it would have looked really bad. And now it looks really bad on him because Calipari decided to stop coaching after that.
Well, we'll take him at Indiana. I don't know if this is officially me putting my word in, but yeah, we will. We will take him.
We don't want Calipari. Indiana can do better than Calipari. Kentucky can do better than Calipari.
Kentucky can do better than Calipari. I think Calipari is better than the average hire you would get next.
Average? He is a top tier. There is no one that can recruit like him. No one.
But that's it.
Okay.
Here's the thing.
Roll the balls out with those guys. You're going to win a whole bunch of games. I just had to watch this team, John.
He's suffering from 20-win itis. Or
Here's
19-win
the
itis,
thing.
whatever it is.
I wanted Kentucky to get rid of him, but let me tell you, if Calipari wanted to stay and we still got rid of him, whichever school he went to next, I think his fire would have been back, and I think he would have been back a lot better because I think he has to have a chip on his shoulder, and now that Pitino's gone and all these other coaches like Coach K that he kind of, I think, viewed as rivals, I just think he's lost that chip.
Agree. If you went to Indiana, who he probably does see as a rival to Kentucky, maybe not their current fan base, but I bet he still has a little beef with Indiana. He goes to Indiana, the fire he would have to put the Wildcats in the grave. Come on, John.
It would be funny. It would be funny, but I just think it'd be such a weird fit.
It would be so weird, and it would never happen. But think about it. This is me officially putting it out there, John. I will pay you out of my pocket at least $10 a year to coach the Hoosiers.
There we go. Calipari, there's your offer from Mitchell Page. Elijah, last thing I'm going to ask you, and then we're just going to wrap this thing up. If it were up to you, would you fire John Calipari? If it were solely your decision?
Man, that's so hard. I think I still have to go no because man, I was upset. But the thing is, unless our next hire is perfect, we're going to have to be paying either $33 million or whatever we talk him down to. And that's just a lot of money for there not to be a surefire. If we thought we could for sure get a home run hire like Jay Wright, which would be our first call if we got rid of Calipari, I would say get rid of him. But if we're having to take a shot on someone I don't know, the kind of Louisville's looking at, I don't think it'd be worth it.
Kenny Payne, maybe Kenny Payne can go back and win those games, right?
Hey, he won those games for Calipari.
He did win those games. Well, that's going to wrap it up. Elijah, thanks for being our first guest on Out of Touch. It was obviously a pleasure. Thanks for teaching me all of your Disney adult-like ways. I'll be happy to report back to you whenever I return. And again, just a reminder, no show next week. We're taking the week off for the first time since we started this thing. Just to give us a chance to recharge. We'll pick things back up after that. So thanks for listening. Have a good night, Mitchell. Elijah, thanks again. We'll talk to you next time.
See you guys.
Later.